Yo, imagine waking up and ASTER just flips Solana overnight, bro. Twitter would straight up melt down. Crypto YouTube would be going nuts. Influencers dropping emergency videos, and everyone would suddenly be like, I've been bullish on ASTER since day one. Yeah, right. That's how the game goes, man. Nobody cares until it's pumping. But if that day really comes when ASTER takes Solana's spot, it won't be luck. It'll be the result of something big that's been building under the radar. See, people forget how Solana came up. Back in 2021, Solana was this underdog chain moving at lightning speed when Ethereum was choking on gas fees. Everyone laughed at it. Oh, it's just another chain. But then boom, Solana went from a few bucks to hundreds, literally turning small bags into life-changing money. Now here we are, 2025, and ASTER's looking like it's replaying that same movie, but on steroids. The question is, are you early enough to see it before everyone else does? Here's what's crazy. ASTER ain't just some random altcoin floating around. It's part of that next-gen Layer 1 narrative that's actually solving what Solana couldn't. Speed? Check. Scalability? Check. But what's really wild is the interoperability. ASTER is connecting ecosystems across chains like it's building the crypto version of the internet backbone. Solana's great, but it's still kind of trapped in its own walled garden. ASTER's like, nah, bruh, I'm not here to compete, I'm here to connect. And when that mindset hits the market, people start to realize this ain't hype, it's evolution. Now here's where it gets interesting. The on-chain data's already whispering what's coming. Wallets that stayed dormant through the bear market, they're waking up. New whale addresses stacking ASTER at every dip. You can feel that energy, that something's cooking vibe that only happens before the big moves. Remember when Solana had its quiet accumulation phase before blasting times 100? Same energy right now. And I know, it sounds insane to compare a new project to an OG like Solana, but history doesn't repeat, it rhymes. But hold up, before you FOMO in, let's keep it real. Every altcoin that looks like a rocket also has risk written all over it. The thing with ASTER is that it's not being pushed by memes or fake hype. It's being built by developers who've actually shipped stuff that works. That's the difference. This isn't a Twitter coin. It's a builder's coin. And that's why people who understand fundamentals are watching closely even if they're not talking about it publicly yet. You'll notice that silence. That's how you know whales are moving. They don't tweet, they buy. But here's the real punch, adoption. ASTER is starting to show up in conversations where Solana used to dominate. Small projects migrating, devs testing dApps, and partnerships quietly being inked. It's like the early Solana ecosystem all over again. But this time, the tech stack is cleaner, faster, and cross-chain ready. That's why smart investors are calling it the Solana 2.0 moment. And if that narrative takes off, bro, forget 10x, this thing could melt faces. The emotional part. Most people are going to miss it again, same as always. They'll laugh, ignore, call it a scam, and when it's up 50x, they'll chase green candles and blame luck. But you're hearing it when nobody else is paying attention. That's the power of being early. You see what's coming before the noise hits. Because by the time CNBC starts saying ASTER's the new Solana, the real move will already be done. And that brings me to the next part. ASTER ain't just another coin, it's building something Solana doesn't even have. The way its architecture bridges networks, the way it's connecting liquidity across ecosystems, it's rewriting the game. Solana ran fast, ASTER is about to run smarter. The future of crypto won't be about isolated chains fighting for dominance. It'll be about who can connect them all, and that's where ASTER is flexing the hardest. So yeah, maybe it hasn't flipped Solana yet, but if you've been around long enough, you know these flips don't happen overnight. They build up quietly and then suddenly, boom, they're undeniable. So keep your eyes on the charts, watch the wallets, and pay attention to what nobody is talking about. Because when the tide shifts, you'll want to be on the side that saw it coming. And trust me, you'll remember this moment when everyone else starts screaming, how did ASTER pass Solana? Next up, I'll break down exactly what makes ASTER's ecosystem different from every other chain trying to catch up, and why that difference might be the key to its entire 2025 breakout. Stay locked in, because this next part is where the real story begins. Yo, everybody's out here screaming that ASTER's the next SOL, right? But let me tell you something wild. Most of them don't even know why the whales are stacking this coin like their life depends on it. I'm talking silent accumulation, massive on-chain buys, wallets that haven't moved since early bull cycles suddenly loading up, and nobody's asking why. But if you've been around long enough, you know that when whales start moving like that, something's about to explode. See, ASTER ain't just hyped because of Twitter chatter. This project's built different. It's solving a problem that's been haunting blockchains for years: scalability and interoperability at once. Remember how Solana hyped up its speed kills ETH moment in 2021? ASTER's pulling a similar move, but with a twist. It's not just about being fast, it's about connecting ecosystems like never before. We're talking true cross-chain communication, something even Solana hasn't cracked properly yet. Now here's the part that'll blow your mind. ASTER's TPS, transactions per second, isn't just high, it's sustainable. That means it doesn't crash when the hype wave hits. Solana, bro, that chain literally froze mid-bull run. ASTER's using modular architecture that keeps performance stable no matter how wild things get. And guess what? Devs love that. You're seeing new dApps spin up daily, from DeFi protocols to NFT marketplaces that actually work without lag. But that's not even the craziest part. The ASTER dev team's been in stealth mode building partnerships while everyone else has been distracted by meme coins. We're talking integrations with major Web3 infrastructures and bridges that'll let ASTER flow through Ethereum, BNB, and Polkadot ecosystems. That's not hype, that's infrastructure. That's the stuff that makes early ETH vibes real again. And here's where it gets emotional, because if you've missed out on Solana's 2021 run, this might feel like déjà vu. Imagine sitting on the sidelines again while the next major Layer 1 coin goes 20x. It hurts, right? That's exactly what these whales are betting you will do. Sleep on it till it's too late. They're quietly positioning before retail even wakes up. That's the part that gives you chills when you realize what's really going down. Still, you gotta ask yourself, if ASTER's that good, why isn't the market going crazy yet? Why is the price still low? Simple. Every major coin that went parabolic, ETH, SOL, AVAX, had a calm before the storm. The whales accumulate, the devs drop silent updates, and suddenly the narrative flips overnight. The retail crowd doesn't even see it coming until it's already 5x up. And the data's already showing the early signs. Daily active wallets up double digits month over month. Developer activity climbing like crazy. TVL and ASTER-based DeFi quietly rising while everyone's staring at Bitcoin's next move. You can literally feel the energy building under the surface. It's that same eerie calm that used to surround Solana before it took off. But here's where the FOMO hits, because once this thing breaks into mainstream narrative, it's game over. Influencers will start calling it the Solana killer, the same way they once said Solana would flip ETH. Whether it's true or not doesn't even matter. The narrative alone sends it flying. You'll see the same people who ignored it start tweeting charts, calling targets, and pretending they were in early. That's when the window closes for real. And bro, that's why this isn't just another altcoin play. It's a positioning move. You either spot it before it trends, or you chase it after it's gone. That's how crypto works, always has. The emotional part? It's knowing you've seen this movie before. You just don't want to be that guy watching the credits roll thinking, damn, I could have caught that 20x. Still, this is where you gotta stay sharp, because not every hype coin delivers. That's why we dig deep, track dev commits, partnerships, on-chain moves, and ASTER's ticking all those boxes. So next time someone says it's just hype, ask them this: why are the smart wallets loading up? Why is VC interest suddenly spiking again? Because when the big money moves in silence, it's never random. And that brings us to the next big question. If ASTER really has all this firepower, how long before the market wakes up and the price starts reflecting it? What's the real timeline before it breaks out and shocks everyone like Solana did? Let's dig into that next, because timing this move could be the difference between catching a small rally and riding a generational wave.
Bro, you ever notice how the biggest winners in crypto are always the ones nobody's talking about till it's already too late? ASTER's literally that sleeper coin right now. Quiet feeds, zero hype, but deep down in the on-chain data, something's moving. It's that same eerie silence we saw right before Solana went parabolic, when everyone thought it was just another L1, and then boom, overnight, billion-dollar project. That same pattern's unfolding again, and this time it's ASTER sitting right in that sweet spot. You scroll through Twitter or Reddit and it's crickets, barely any influencers covering it. No big YouTube thumbnails screaming next 100x coin. And yet if you trace the wallets, the big boys, the silent accumulators, they're stacking like crazy. Not retail wallets, not random traders. We're talking wallets that belong to early ETH and SOL players. They're scooping ASTER like it's 2019 all over again. The funny part? No one's even noticing because everyone's distracted by meme coins and hype projects. Classic stealth accumulation phase. And that's the emotional trap. People chase noise, but the real money always moves in silence. That's what makes this so wild. You start connecting dots. Low social mentions, rising on-chain buys, steady wallet growth, and it's like watching a storm forming on the radar while everyone else is still at the beach. It's that feeling of knowing something big's coming, but no one believes you yet. You can literally feel the tension building before the breakout. ASTER's doing exactly what future giants do in early stages, building quietly, expanding its dev base, locking partnerships without dropping hype bombs. Their ecosystem's growing under the radar, like the roots of a tree before it breaks through the soil. You don't see it from above, but underground, it's expanding fast. Every dev update, every GitHub commit, every small project launch is another sign that something's brewing. And here's the wild part. The whales aren't just buying, they're holding. These wallets aren't flipping quick profits, they're locking it down. That's the real alpha. Because when smart money goes long-term, that's when you know they see something retail doesn't. They're betting on the future narrative, the one that hasn't hit mainstream yet. But the question is, why no coverage? Why isn't anyone talking about this? Simple. Media chases engagement, not fundamentals. ASTER's not controversial, it's not dropping meme partnerships, it's not hyping AI plus crypto nonsense. It's just building solid tech. Interoperability, scalability, and a cross-chain model that could redefine how ecosystems talk to each other. But until that narrative catches fire, it stays in the shadows. And that's where the opportunity is. Think back to when Solana was under $5, barely any coverage. When AVAX was buried under the radar, same deal. When Matic was just a random layer 2 nobody cared about. History repeats itself in crypto again and again. And right now, ASTER's that ghost coin building momentum in the dark. You just got to know where to look. Emotionally, that's the hardest part for investors. Seeing something early but doubting your gut because no one's talking about it yet. That's what keeps most people from 100x plays. They wait for confirmation, and by the time they get it, it's already gone. That's where FOMO kicks in. Watching charts you ignored go vertical, wishing you'd listen to your instincts. And you can feel that same tension brewing with ASTER. The quiet accumulation, the slow wallet growth, the unspoken excitement in private discords, it's all there. The setups that smart traders dream about. Because when this narrative flips, it won't just rise slowly, it'll erupt. It'll go from silence to everywhere in 24 hours, and people will act like it came out of nowhere. But it didn't. It was right here the whole time, in plain sight. Now, here's where curiosity hits its peak. Who's actually behind this? Because that's the real secret nobody's digging into yet. The faces, the dev teams, the early backers, those are the clues that separate a real gem from a short-term hype coin. If the team behind ASTER turns out to be what it looks like, bro, this changes everything. We're talking next-level credibility, cross-chain partnerships with names that could blow the lid off the entire narrative. So before you ape in, before you chase the FOMO, you need to know who's pulling the strings. Because the people building this are the ones who will determine if ASTER is really the next Solana or just another flash in the pan. And trust me, once you hear who's actually involved, you'll understand why the whales are betting big and why this might be the biggest sleeper play before the 2025 bull run goes nuclear. So stick around, because next, we're pulling the curtain back on the real team behind ASTER, and what they've built in silence might just shock the entire crypto space. You know what separates hype coins from the real players? The dev squad and the money backing them. And ASTER's got both locked in tight, bro. This ain't no random meme project getting pumped by influencers. This is the kind of setup that whispers, not screams. Because when the brains and the capital align, you already know something big's about to pop. The crazy thing is, almost nobody's paying attention yet.
Let's talk about the dev squad first. These guys aren't your average code jockeys trying to copy-paste a white paper. The core ASTER team is built different. Most of them are ex-Solana and Polkadot devs who left those ecosystems to build something cleaner, faster, and more future-proof. These are people who've already seen how billion-dollar networks scale and break. They're fixing all that from the ground up. No hype, no drama, just pure execution. The kind of dev team that talks less and builds more, and that's rare in this market. What's wild is how they've been moving. Super low-key, minimal marketing, no to-the-moon nonsense. They're literally just rolling out upgrades, testing new modules, and expanding cross-chain compatibility while the rest of crypto Twitter's chasing memes. Every update they drop pushes ASTER closer to becoming one of the most functional and scalable networks in the game. It's got that same quiet confidence Solana had in 2020, before it exploded. But here's where the plot thickens. You start tracing the wallets and looking at the seed investors, and bro, this is where your jaw drops. We're not talking about random VC money. We're talking about serious burly backers with deep roots in Web3. Funds that were in Solana, Avalanche, and Polygon before they became household names. That's not luck. That's precision investing. These guys don't throw money at a hype. They back infrastructure plays that change how crypto actually works. And get this, the funding rounds were private. That's why you didn't see any press releases or massive influencer campaigns. The whales wanted it quiet, controlled, off the radar. They didn't want retail flooding in yet because they're still accumulating. That's the move you see before the explosion, when the smartest players want to stack before the noise starts. It's the same thing that happened before Sol ran from $2 to $200. The devs are building, the money's positioning, and the partnerships are sliding into place. ASTER's already connected with multiple cross-chain protocols, which is huge because interoperability is literally the next frontier of crypto. Imagine Ethereum, Solana, and Polkadot all being able to communicate seamlessly. That's the endgame ASTER's targeting. It's like they looked at all the limitations of today's blockchains and said, we can fix that. And slowly, they're proving they can. Emotionally, it's wild to think how this all lines up with where Solana was a few years ago. Quiet dev progress, smart investors, small community, massive upside. And if history's taught us anything, these early builders and investors are usually the ones who see the future before the rest of the world catches up. That's why this story hits different. It's not built on hype, it's built on foundation. The kind of foundation that only becomes obvious when it's too late to get in cheap. Now, let's talk about the vibe behind the team. They're not chasing influencers or begging for exchange listings. They're working with real developers, real projects, real integrations. You can literally feel that this isn't a short-term pump project. It's an ecosystem being handcrafted for the long game. The ASTER devs are talking with DeFi builders, gaming projects, and even infrastructure-level data companies. And when those partnerships go public, it's game over. That's when you'll see every YouTuber suddenly pretending they always believed in ASTER. It's that phase where the believers get in early and the crowd wakes up late. The same pattern, every single cycle. And the crazy part? ASTER's market cap is still a fraction of Solana's. So even if he captures a small percentage of Sol's dominance, we're talking insane upside. Like 50x, maybe even 100x if the next bull run delivers like everyone's predicting for 2025. And remember, bull runs aren't built on hype. They're built on conviction. The kind of conviction ASTER's team and investors clearly have. Now, think about it. When you've got world-class devs and smart money backing something this quietly, what do you think happens once it goes mainstream? Once it gets listed on the big exchanges, gets a few YouTubers hyping it, and retail starts catching on. That's when the rocket actually ignites, and you're either on the ship early or you're watching it leave. That's how crypto moves, fast, emotional, and ruthless. But this time, it's not just about the hype. It's about the perfect alignment, brains, capital, and timing. ASTER's team is writing code that could literally define the next era of interoperability. And the investors behind it, they're betting big that 2025 is when it all clicks. The silence before the explosion. That's what this feels like. Now here's the real kicker, and I'm not exaggerating. When you pull up ASTER's chart and look at what's forming right now, it's screaming 100x setup if the 2025 bull run hits full stride. That's what we're diving into next, and trust me, the technicals will blow your mind.
Look at this chart, fam. It's giving straight up 2020 Solana deja vu vibes. Like, bro, I'm not even kidding. This setup's nasty. You can literally feel it, that quiet pressure building before something blows up. The volume's low, the chart's consolidating tight, and it's sitting right at a breakout zone that screams, I'm about to move. This ain't some random line on TradingView. This looks like the calm before the storm. Every candle, every pullback, it's forming that perfect accumulation structure. You can tell smart money's been loading up heavy while retail's sleeping. Now, if you zoom out, ASTER's chart looks almost identical to Solana's pre-bull breakout back in 2020. Same long, sideways structure, same liquidity traps, same fake breakdowns to shake weak hands. It's like watching history repeat itself in real time. Every time the market gets quiet like this, that's when the whales do their thing. You can literally see the hidden volume spikes, not massive green candles, just that steady stealth accumulation that doesn't make headlines but changes everything later. Here's the crazy part. If you draw the Fibonacci retracement from the all-time high down to the recent bottom, ASTER is currently chilling between the 0.236 and 0.382 zones. That's literally the golden pocket where big reversals usually start. It's that pre-launch area that smart traders live for. Because once it breaks above that 0.382 level with volume confirmation, it's game on. That's the start of a breakout structure that can flip a chart from dead to dominant overnight. And bro, check the RSI, sitting low but climbing slow. That's bullish divergence right there. It's telling you momentum's building under the surface even though the price hasn't exploded yet. The market's just waiting for a trigger, maybe a big partnership, an exchange listing, or even just Bitcoin stabilizing. One clean daily candle above resistance, and ASTER's chart could light up like Solana's did in mid-2020. That's when the rocket engines start humming before liftoff. Now let's talk about zones. The first resistance around $0.065 is crucial. Once that breaks, the next target sits near $0.10, and if momentum carries, you're looking at a clear shot to $0.18 to $0.20. That's a near 3x from current levels, and that's just midterm. But if the 2025 bull run plays out like it's shaping up to, those upper Fibonacci extensions are wild. You're talking 50 cents, maybe even $1 plus if we get that same retail mania we saw last cycle. Sounds crazy now, but every 100x chart looked insane before it happened. And that's the emotional trap right there. When charts are quiet, everyone ignores them. But by the time they move, it's already too late. Think back. When Solana broke $5, everyone thought it was too high. When AVAX broke $20, same story. And then a few months later, those same people were crying about missing the move. ASTER is sitting in that exact phase right now, the disbelief zone. That's where 100x plays are born right before the noise starts. Even the volume profile confirms it. Low volatility, low engagement, but consistent base building. That's how whales load positions without spiking price. Every dip gets bought, every breakout gets capped. That's accumulation, not random trading. When this range finally breaks, all that suppressed volume explodes upward. That's when the breakout candles get longer, FOMO tweets start flying, and the retail crowd finally wakes up. But by then, the big gains are already gone. If you overlay the moving averages, the 50 days starting to curve up and close the gap with the 200-day. That's the early sign of a potential golden cross forming, one of the most reliable bull signals in technical analysis. It's not confirmed yet, but it's lining up perfectly with the Fibonacci breakout zone. If both align, bro, we're looking at a full-blown reversal pattern that could push ASTER into a new market structure. And don't even get me started on the volume to market cap ratio. It's way under the threshold you usually see before liftoffs, meaning liquidity's still fresh and there's room for big moves once volume flows in. That's why these setups feel like ticking bombs. Quiet, patient, but explosive when they go off. It's literally the definition of the calm before the boom. Emotionally, this is the hardest time to hold conviction, when the chart's boring, sentiment's low, and people have moved on. But that's exactly when smart money wins. Because when everyone's distracted, that's when accumulation happens. And when it flips bullish, it happens so fast you can't even react. You just wake up one morning and your dead bag is suddenly trending on crypto Twitter. Now, before you go all in thinking this is a guaranteed moonshot, slow down, because every setup, no matter how clean it looks, carries risk. And the next part, I'm not going to lie, is the one nobody's talking about. The risk factors behind ASTER, the ones that could decide whether it's the next Solana or just another chart that almost made it. So don't skip this, because what comes next could be the difference between profit and regret.
Listen up, legends. Every single 100x coin had that one brutal moment where holders almost gave up. That's the real test. The charts dip, sentiment dies, influencers disappear, and it feels like the project's over. But guess what? That's the exact moment legends are made. The question is, will you hold your ground or will you fold right before the flip? Because here's the truth. Crypto doesn't reward the smartest traders. It rewards the most patient ones. You can have all the analysis, all the indicators, all the calls, but if your mindset cracks under pressure, you'll never see the other side of the move. ASTER's journey, just like Solana's back in the day, won't be a straight line. It's going to test you. Sharp dips, fake breakouts, emotional panic, all part of the process. The market does that on purpose. It shakes out the weak before the real run starts. Right now, ASTER's at that phase where conviction matters more than hype. This is the boring zone, the part of the chart no one screenshots. It's where legends accumulate quietly while the crowd laughs and moves on. But when the breakout happens, those same people suddenly act like they always believed. That's the cycle. It happens every time. The emotional roller coaster from disbelief to FOMO, that's what separates early believers from late followers. And let's be real, most people can't handle that silence. They want instant gains, fast pumps, easy wins. But that's not how generational plays work. ASTER, just like every major project before it, will move in waves. The goal isn't to catch every top or bottom. The goal is to survive long enough to see the flip. Because listen up, legends. Every single 100x coin had that one brutal moment where holders almost gave up. That's the real test. The charts dip, sentiment dies, influencers disappear, and it feels like the project's over. But guess what? That's the exact moment legends are made. The question is, will you hold your ground or will you fold right before the flip? Because here's the truth. Crypto doesn't reward the smartest traders. It rewards the most patient ones. You can have all the analysis, all the indicators, all the calls, but if your mindset cracks under pressure, you'll never see the other side of the move. ASTER's journey, just like Solana's back in the day, won't be a straight line. It's going to test you. Sharp dips, fake breakouts, emotional panic, all part of the process. The market does that on purpose. It shakes out the weak before the real run starts. Right now, ASTER's at that phase where conviction matters more than hype. This is the boring zone, the part of the chart no one screenshots. It's where legends accumulate quietly while the crowd laughs and moves on. But when the breakout happens, those same people suddenly act like they always believed. That's the cycle. It happens every time. The emotional roller coaster from disbelief to FOMO, that's what separates early believers from late followers. And let's be real, most people can't handle that silence. They want instant gains, fast pumps, easy wins, but that's not how generational plays work. ASTER, just like every major project before it, will move in waves. The goal isn't to catch every top or bottom. The goal is to survive long enough to see the flip. Because that's where the real money's made, not in predicting the peak, but in staying alive when everyone else taps out. The biggest risk here isn't just market volatility, it's you. Your emotions, your fear, your impatience. That's what destroys more portfolios than any bear market ever could. When the chart dips 30%, your brain screams, get out. When it pumps 30%, it whispers, take profits. But the truth, neither move defines the long-term vision. It's about zooming out and understanding the bigger picture. ASTER's fundamentals, its devs, its ecosystem, that's what gives it staying power. But if you can't hold through the noise, none of it matters. And yeah, risks are real. There's smart contract risk, market risk, regulatory risk, you name it. That's why position sizing is key. Never go all in like a degen chasing a green candle. The real players stack smart, scale in, and use dips to build positions, not panic exits. Crypto's a battlefield, and only those with a plan walk out with profits. You got to treat this game like a marathon, not a sprint. So what's the mindset? It's balance, it's patience, it's knowing when to act and when to chill, when to buy the fear and when to step back from the noise. Every dip you survive adds to your edge. Every time you ignore the FUD, you're building conviction. And when the market finally flips, when the headlines scream ASTER up 500%, that's when you realize all those quiet months were worth it. Because in that moment, you won't just be watching charts, you'll be watching your conviction pay off. Emotionally, this is the hardest part. Seeing red candles, watching influencers switch sides, feeling like maybe you were wrong. But that's what every future winner felt before their coin made history. The Solana believers went through this, the early ETH holders went through this. The ones who made it didn't have special information. They just didn't quit when it got uncomfortable. And bro, that's what it's going to take here, the mindset of steel. You're not here for small wins. You're here for legacy moves, the ones that change your life, not just your wallet. But that kind of reward doesn't come without pain. You'll have to sit through dips, ignore noise, and trust your analysis. Because when ASTER moves, it won't give you time to react. It'll just explode. And if you're not in position, all you'll have left is regret. So here's the plan. Know your entry zones, decide your targets, lock your mindset. When fear hits the market, remember this. Every 100x coin looked dead right before it exploded. ASTER might follow that same playbook. The key is surviving long enough to see it happen. Because when that breakout hits, when the volume spikes and the world finally notices, you'll know exactly why you stayed patient when others bailed. And if you made it this far, you're already built different. You're not just another viewer chasing hype, you're thinking ahead. You're preparing. You're seeing the game before it plays out. That's what separates the early believers from the late FOMO crowd. So keep your eyes on the mission, stay grounded, and don't lose sight of the long game. If you made it this far, you already think different. Now check out my ASTER Buy Zones video next, because that's where the real gains are made.